By the end of the video, you will know more about Bitcoin and how it works than 99% of the population. Sounds great? Let's get it started. Maybe today is your greatest day. But there was another great day in history related to Bitcoin. On May 22, 2010, a programmer named Laszlo Heinitz, living in Florida, heard a knock at the door. A courier stood at the door with 2 hot pizzas. Laszlo opened the door and took the hot pizzas. Thus, the first ever transaction paid with cryptocurrency took place. It was that pizza delivered by Papa John's, and it cost Laszlo 10,000 Bitcoins, 5,000 for each pizza. Back then, such meal cost him about $30. Today, for the same amount of cryptocurrency, he could buy enough pizza to last his lifetime. And not just him, but also for his relatives, colleagues, friends of friends, and everyone he has ever known and will know. Currently, 10,000 Bitcoins is worth $60 million. Such a great rise from $30 to $60 million. But how does this money work? What backs it up? And why it is growing so quickly? Let's figure it out. To understand Bitcoin, you should know something about money. One day, people realized that carrying bags of coins or gold bars wasn't comfortable, so paper money was invented. And here's how it worked. A bank or the government would offer to store your gold bar, say worth $1,000, and in exchange, this bank would issue you certificates, which we call banknotes, for the amount of $1,000. These paper money notes were not only much lighter to carry, but also allowed you to spend $1 on a slice of pizza without having to cut your gold bar into 1,000 pieces. And if you wanted your gold back, you simply took the $1,000 in banknotes back to the bank. Thus, paper money began to be used as a tool of practicality and convenience. However, over time, this link between the paper certificates and the gold it represented was broken. Governments told their people that the government itself would be responsible for the value of this paper currency. Let's just forget about gold and trade paper instead. Sounds suspicious, doesn't it? So people continued to trade certificates that were backed by nothing but the government's promise. And why did this continue to work? Well, because of trust. Despite there being no actual goods backing the paper money, people trusted the government, and thus fiat currency was born. Fiat is a Latin word meaning by decree. This means that any currency, such as euros, dollars, have value because the government says so. Therefore, the value of today's money actually comes from its legal status granted by a central authority, in this case, the government. And so, the model of trust shifted from trusting something to trusting someone, in this case, the government. Fiat currency today has 2 main drawbacks. First, it's centralized, and second, its supply is unlimited. The government or central bank can print as much as they want whenever needed and increase the money supply in the market. The problem with printing money is that as you flood the market with more money, the value of each dollar decreases, so your own money is worth less. Then you need more dollars to buy something that once cost less. After fiat money was introduced, the transition to digital money was quite simple. We already have a central authority issuing money, so why not make the money mainly digital and allow this authority to track who owns what? But what stops government from copying dollars millions times to have millions of dollars? When you give someone control over the money supply, you give them enormous power, and this creates 3 main problems. The first problem is corruption. Power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. When banks have the mandate to create money or value, they effectively control the flow of value in the world, which gives them almost unlimited power. The second problem of centralized system is mismanagement. If the interests of the central authority do not align with the interests of the people it controls, there can be cases of mismanagement of money. The problem with printing too much money is that it causes inflation and effectively devalues citizens' money. One example of this is Zimbabwe, where the price of goods doubled every 24 hours. For instance, a beer costing 100 billion Zimbabwean dollars at 2 p.m. could cost 150 billion just an hour later. Or Venezuela, where the government printed so much money that its value plummeted to the point where people no longer count money but wait instead. And the final problem is control. At any moment, the government can decide to freeze your account and deny your access to your funds. Even if you use only cash, the government can invest validate the legal status of your currency, as was done in India a few years ago. This was the situation until 2009. Creating an alternative to the existing monetary system seemed hopeless. But then everything changed. In October 2008, a document was published on the internet by a person who called themselves Satoshi Nakamoto. This document, also known as a white paper, proposed a way to create a system for a decentralized currency called Bitcoin. This system asserted that it could create digital money without need for a central authority. Let's compare Bitcoin to a bank. Since most money is already digital, a bank effectively manages its own ledger of balances and transactions. However, the bank's ledger is not transparent and is stored on the bank's main computer. You cannot peek into the bank's ledger, and only the bank has full control over it. On the other hand, Bitcoin is a transparent ledger. At any moment, you can look into the ledger and see all transactions and balances occurring. The only thing you cannot find out is who owns these balances and who stands behind each transaction. This means that Bitcoin is pseudo-anonymous. Everything is open, transparent, and traceable, but you still cannot determine who is sending what to whom. Let's explain this with an example. We can see that a specific Bitcoin address sent 10,000 Bitcoins to another Bitcoin address in May 2010. This particular transaction is the first purchase made using Bitcoin, and yes, it was our old friend Laszlo buying his already famous pizza. Bitcoin is also decentralized. There is no single computer that stores the ledger. With Bitcoin, every computer participating in the system also stores a copy of the ledger, known as a blockchain. So, if you want to destroy the system or tamper with the ledger, you would have to destroy thousands of computers that store and constantly update it. Like most money today, Bitcoin is also digital. This means there is nothing physical in Bitcoin that you can touch. There are no real coins, there are only lines of transactions and balances. When you own Bitcoin, it means you own the right to access a specific record of Bitcoin address in the ledger and can send funds from it to another address. For the first time since the advent of digital money, we now have an alternative to the existing system. Bitcoin is a form of money that no government or bank can control. Think about the time before the internet, when information flow was centralized. If you wanted information, you could get it from a few sources, 2 or 3 newspapers, and that was it. Today, thanks to the internet, information has become decentralized, and you can communicate and consume knowledge from around the world with just a click of a button. Bitcoin is like the internet in the world of money. Bitcoin has several advantages over the existing system. Firstly, it gives you full control over your money. With Bitcoin, you and only you can access your funds. How to actually do this will be explained in the next video. No government or bank can decide to freeze your account or confiscate your assets. Bitcoin also cuts out many intermediaries from the money transfer process. This means that in many cases, Bitcoin is cheaper to use than traditional bank transfers or money remittances. Money flows directly from the seller to the buyer, with the system being serviced by Bitcoin users themselves. The technology on which all this operates is called blockchain. Blockchain is a chain of transaction blocks in a distributed ledger. It's not very easy to understand right away, and it's not surprising, considering that blockchain was in development for over 10 years by the smartest IT specialists. Even bankers hold separate conferences to discuss this phenomenon. To understand how blockchain works, imagine I decide to start a diary where I record all my actions. For example, I woke up, then watched the video, used StepSwap, then had breakfast, had lunch, posted a photo on Instagram, used StepSwap again, lent my friend $10 and then went to the store. While the diary is with me, there are no problems. At any time, I can show my friend when and how much money I lent him. But what if at some point the diary ends up with that friend and he raises the records of the debt? After this, I decide to encrypt the records in my diary to make it harder to tamper with. For this, I use a special program that turns my text into a set of unintelligible symbols, or as they call it now, a hash. For example, I type the word debt and it gives me a hash, a set of numbers and symbols. This means that it's already impossible to alter the oldest records. To do this, you have to redo the entire chain of blocks. Imagine a family tree where all your ancestors are recorded, with you at the top, and all these branches are your grandparents. Now imagine what would happen if you changed some detail of your great-grandmother's biography from the early 20th century. This means that you, as you know yourself now, wouldn't exist anymore. The same thing happens in blockchain, and any minor change to an old record leads to a change in the entire chain. And now imagine that a copy of your diary exists with 1 million people, and bitcoins are stored on millions of computers. At the same time, all transactions are available to everyone in an encrypted form, meaning it's always visible who sent, how much, to whom, but identifying the owners of the wallets is impossible. This mechanism effectively solves two tasks, making the system reliable and anonymous. Simultaneously, it achieves perfect bookkeeping that no one person with any existing set of resources can control, and there are no computational resources in the world that could change the chain in millions of computers simultaneously. Phew! We've figured out the reliability of the blockchain system. To avoid everything seems so perfect, let's talk about why Bitcoin often changes in price. In other words, why is it so volatile? I have a great analogy for this. To understand how this works, imagine that you've opened an amusement park. To ride attractions, visitors need to buy tokens for your park. When you have a few attractions, the tokens are almost worthless. As the number of attractions grows, more people and more visitors start valuing your tokens, and they might even exchange them with you and each other, giving you more dollars for these tokens. But if the park stops accepting tokens, they become useless bank joke tickets. That's how this works. If you want to have some bitcoins, today there are many online and offline places that accept Bitcoin. You can book hotels, insure your car, buy airline tickets, and in some countries even purchase real estate using Bitcoin. However, the road to mainstream adoption is still long. The money revolution began in 2009, and today we see how it is changing the money we know. Subscribe to this channel if you want to be a part of crypto world. Make sure to check out our latest video, like, comment, and share with your friends. Here you will find all you should know about crypto and more. With you was Team Token. See you in the next video.